Don't sleep on the 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. What's up, Mitch? How you been, bro? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, Keith, man. I'm doing well. How you doing, man?
Oh, I can't complain. I tell you who can't complain, Mitch. Well, first of all, I want to introduce us. I'm going to always go on without doing that. I'm Keith Pompey. This is my right-hand man, John Mitchell. We are the host of the Locked On 76ers podcast. And this podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks, right? The easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code all lowercase Locked On NBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Now, Mitch, I'm not feeling as good as the 76ers are. It's last night. I mean, let's face it. They went into Cleveland last night without 4 starters. Initially, it was 3 starters. And we all know, like, 4 starters and Robert Covington's been out forever. And then right before the game, they realized that Tobias Harris wasn't going to play. Everybody thought it was going to be barbecue chicken night in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And they pulled out a win. And it was a balanced attack. Buddy Hield continued to show what he can do. Paul Reed said, I can show y'all what I can do when I get the ball. Whatchamacall's out there. Kelly Oubre Jr. is out there blowing kisses to the Cleveland Cavaliers bench. I mean, it was a good night for the 76ers, a great night. For KJ Martin finally got an opportunity. Well, he's been playing more since the trade, but he finally got an opportunity to start and nearly got a double-double. And then you talked about before we came on air about the shooting. They shot lights out. This was a great win for an undermanned team.
Yeah, it really was. You know, like you said, they shot the ball well against a team just, second best defensive team in the league. Cleveland's very long. They usually play very good perimeter defense, but the 76ers came out there making 54% of their shots. And I know we talked about this yesterday. We both kind of were in agreement that the 76ers tomorrow, that last night the 76ers might get roasted. I was of the impression that they might go into Cleveland, and that team had won 17 of 18 and was on a 9-game winning streak. Getting play, now they had finally a healthy roster. And the 76ers came out and they started well early and they kept their foot on the gas, man. The offense showed up, scored 123 points. The offense has been struggling lately, and they got contributions from everywhere. It's kind of like pick a guy. I was really happy to see, KJ Martin, getting his first start with the 76ers and going 5 for 5 from the field. And, they took away that one dunk I thought was crazy, for hanging on the rim. It's like you said. I mean, this was arguably, all things considered, with finding out that you're not going to have Tobias Harris, just another starter down, and they come out and beat the hottest team in the league. So kudos to the 76ers because they did what I had absolutely no faith that the Sixers were going to beat them.
Yeah, it's weird, man, because when we did the podcast, I was thinking it was like barbecue chicken night too, right? I mean, I really did. And as the day wore on, I was just, sitting around, just thinking. And I'm like, you know what? I would not be surprised if the Sixers won. And I also went on, what was formerly known as Twitter, to call it X now, And I went on there and I asked people, I said, what do y'all think? And I said, give me your predictions and give me your scores. I mean, the predictions, when what I want is I want the winner, I want the final score, and I wanted how many points Tyrese, Maxey, and Donovan Mitchell were going to have, right? But when I asked the question, I said to people, I was like, look, y'all, this is the type of game that the Sixers typically play well in. Like when we all think it's doom and gloom. I mean, you think of Denver, they almost beat Denver, and then they go into Utah, and everybody thought they was going to get boat raced there, and they pulled off the victory, right? So when you have things like that, I kind of like had a sense that, you know what, maybe I'm sleeping on them. I mean, I got to go with my gut, and I went with my gut, and they ended up winning it. Now, did I think they were going to win? Confident win? I just thought they would give them a run for their money. But the thing is that it ended up being a really good game. But the thing is, they got mass contributions from a lot of different players. And, you know, we talk about Buddy Hield, and, you know, I'll be honest with you, like, you know, when I see statistics and I saw Buddy play the first couple games, you know, to me, I just saw a guy hitting out, like he was just running up and down the floor, chucking threes, getting a lot of threes, chucking a lot. We all know that he can shoot three-pointers, but I didn't know he was taking that many. So when you look at it, it was 1 point in the first game, I believe he was like 1 for 5 for threes. And I'm like, oh, then he got cooking a little bit. But I'm starting to see that how that's just not his game. I mean, this is the third game in a row that he had over 6 assists, right? So he's getting teammates involved. He had 8 assists last night. He had 20-something points. But the thing that impressed me was, and I know you go inside out, but the thing that impressed me was his first 2 baskets came off of taking dudes off the dribble, just boom, going in there. And that was impressive to me. Then you look at a guy like Kelly Oubre. In the fourth quarter, he was hitting big shots, big shot after big shot after big shot. We talk about, you know, Paul Reed. I look at Paul Reed and I say to myself, like, man, if only he can get more involved in the offense. And what I mean by that is like getting them more involved. Like, I know he's a rim runner, he's a protector. I mean, he's a rim runner, a rim protector, this and that. And he has a role because Joel Embiid was the man. Right. But he got it started for him yesterday. I mean, he came out there. He scored 7 of their first 13 points. Like we talk about Buddy Hield blowing past people. He was blowing past Jared Allen, you know, getting stuff over Evan Mobley. And I'm like, wow. Now, again, he scored their first 7 of their first 13. He only ended up with 13 points. Shot 6 for 10. But at the same time, I felt like he got him going. And then Buddy, Kelly, and Maxey were the ones who kept it on. Like they took the baton from him, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, he's stepping up, man. He's really embracing that role of their small ball center. I know in the last 3 games, he scored 37 points and he's made 17 of 28 shots from the floor and he's grabbed 28 rebounds. So, you know, it's more and more he's becoming a real contributor to the offense and to the defense. You know, he's running the floor and, you know, I thought he was going to have a real hard time against the length that Cleveland has, but, you know, he didn't. He's playing within himself. He's not trying to do too much, and he's making all of the energy plays that they need from him, you know. And it's good to see because he's a guy, you know, he works, you know, and you're seeing, you know, the fruits of his labor being rewarded. You know, he's getting more minutes, and he's going to continue, you know, because of the Embiid situation. He and Mo Bamba are going to continue to get minutes. And they're going to need to be productive. And both of them were productive last night. You know, Mo Bamba's challenging a lot of shots at the rim. If I'm not mistaken, I think he hit a 3 last night. Running the floor well. And just overall, I mean, it was one of those games where you say, because I'm not like you, Keith. I didn't feel at any point during yesterday that the 76ers were going to win that game, you know. And then when I heard that Tobias was out, I was like, man, you know, this is just going to be one of those games. You're approaching the All-Star break, and you know, the floor could fall out on you. But you know, lo and behold, it didn't.
Yeah, it didn't. It didn't. It was a good one. It was a good one. You know, when we get back from this break, we got to talk about Nick Nurse, the coaching job that he did last night, and then that he's doing, you know, moving forward. Look, PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. We are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 or 6 players, stat projections, and watch the winnings roll in. Now, here's the thing. It's demon time on PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money with a little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Demons and Goblins are the newest and most exciting way to play at PrizePicks. Squares marked with red demons and green goblins get you different payouts. You can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. Players and stat types you're selecting. Highlight your winnings from PrizePicks, how fun and how simple the experience is of playing this game. Now, here's the deal. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. I'm going to repeat that again for y'all. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Do it today, people. I'm telling you, definitely do this today. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now you can also find it on Amazon Fire TV. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find the Locked On Sports Today channel now on Amazon Fire TV. So here's the thing. We talked about it before, and we talked about how, you know, I said at first I thought they was going to get boat race, but as the day wore along, I realized that they could possibly get this victory, right? That they were going to come to play. I wasn't shocked. You know, and you talked about how you felt about it. The thing is, the common denominator is that when they go in, is Nick Nurse's coaching, right? Because there was a game when they almost won and Maxey didn't play. But I just feel like this guy can coach. He puts them in great situations. He comes up with solid game plans. He's also a guy I noticed, if something ain't working, he's going to abort it quick, fast, in a hurry. Like if the game is too fast for you and you don't have it that night, he ain't got time to wait for you to figure it out unless you like, you know, a star player, so to speak. But when we look at it, I felt like when they went to Denver, even though they lost that game, he came out with a phenomenal game plan. He did certain things. When they went to Utah, the same thing. Now, Tyrese Maxey did have 51 points. But at the same time, I felt like Nick Nurse's coaching was keeping his team afloat. Like, you know, I feel like in seasons past, and this isn't a knock against other coaches, but I felt like in seasons past, that would have been the game that they lost. But these guys actually felt like they had a chance to win.
Yeah. I like I said earlier, we're going to find out a whole lot more about. I mean, he's been placed in an incredibly untenable situation, having to coach that team without the main cog, and now experiencing this rash of injuries. But yeah, he does appear to have solid game plans. You know, in watching the 76ers, you haven't seen too many nights this season where they've just taken the night off. You know what I mean? You know, guys come out and like you said, if you're not working, he will get you out of there, and he's willing to tinker. And so I know we're approaching the midpoint of the season. I mean, in terms of wins and losses, we're beyond that point, and just looking at what Nick Nurse has done. I feel safe in saying that the guy, they made a good hire. They made a good hire. I've known Doc for years, but I don't know that they would be playing particularly right now with their body count being what it is. I mean, they won two or three since the trade deadline. I mean, granted, one of those wins was against Washington, but you know what though? You can't even look at the Washington win the way we might have previously looked at it as that being a bad team because the Sixers were so short-manded. So yeah, I'm becoming a Nick Nurse fan. He doesn't seem like a guy has he's a guy a few words, but he puts guys in, and this is a cliche, but Kelly Oubre's in the right place. He's doing the right things with Buddy Hield.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't want to make it about him and Doc. Like, I mean, I just want to give him his flowers, if that, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, Doc was good. Heck, man, Doc, it was a 3-year run. He probably might be the most successful regular season run in Sixers history, right? When you look at the winning percentage and everything like that, I felt like Doc had some misfortune, with the way Embiid and Harden will play in the playoffs and stuff like that. I think they relied a little bit too heavy on them. But here's another guy. Let's talk about Ricky Council, the fourth. Mm-hmm. So here's a guy who he had a double-double against the Wizards. And, you say to yourself, and I'll be honest, I said to myself, okay, that's great. Mm-hmm. The Wizards are the Wizards, right? Now, you say you can look at them differently, this and that. But we all knew that was a game that the Sixers had to play well against, right? That was a must win. Right. So you get Ricky Council, who comes in there and he does what he does, and he has the double-double, and everybody's excited, right? But then, to me, the stuff that really stood out to me after that was how this past game was, I wanted to see what he could do. Like, what could he do? And the thing that stood out to me was my man. Now he had 8 points. He didn't particularly shoot the ball well. He was 2 for 7, but he was 4 for 5 from the foul line. He made 2 huge foul shots down the stretch. Yeah, huge foul shots down the stretch. He had what did he have? He had 5 boards, right? So to me, he played 20 minutes and was a +5 in that 20. Now, some people might say that's not a lot, but the fact is when he came in there, he made things happen, right? And the fact that he had an off shooting night, but as a rookie going on the road and stepping on that foul line and making 2 huge shots, foul shots to me were big. Yeah. That was a major part of the game to me.
Yeah, it was nice to see him coming off of that, that double-double in Washington and making a contribution. And you and I both know, Keith, these are the kind of games that for young guys, when they see themselves contributing, it doesn't have to necessarily be a double-double like you had in Washington, but to make crucial plays and to be on the floor in crucial situations. And making contributions, getting his hands on some balls in the passing lane, and playing good defense. I mean, some of these guys recognize that it's kind of, because the injury, one man's trash is another man's treasure. The situation or one man's bad luck is another man's good luck. To make that up on the fly. For these guys to begin, some of these young guys to be getting these opportunities now, the KJ Martin, 5 for 5 last night, double-double. Ricky Council, the fourth, playing the way he did against Washington, playing, making that contribution last night as he did. You're getting a chance to see guys come along. One of the bigger criticisms of the 76ers, and I think it's kind of overrated because player development in the NBA is really difficult, especially if you're on a good team or a playoff team and you're a young guy trying to make your bones. You're just not going to get those opportunities. But now those opportunities are there for guys like Ricky Council IV. And I like what I saw from him last night. And I was wondering how he was going to come out and perform in his next game after. I was wondering if he was going to sit back and feel himself a little bit, which is, tendency some guys do. But I tend to think that Nick Nurse is not a guy who's going to allow that to happen. If you're not making a contribution, you're not going to be on the floor with him. And it was good to see him play the way he did. And other guys we haven't talked about. I was glad to see. Granted, Campaign is not. He's not a rookie by any stretch of imagination, but he played well last night. 4 assists, no turnovers, and gave them some good floor generalship. So, it was just, again, I would, if I had to label a best win of the season so far for them, I would say that this is
it. Yeah, I would too. I would say under the circumstances, it probably was. Mm-hmm. But sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest. Big or small, certain things can really start to get to you. It's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. So today, I want to say how I really feel about something. You might even be thinking about the same thing. That's why it's always good to go to BetterHelp. There's some times when I get stressed out. You got the job, you got other things, you got things that really get to you. And sometimes it's great, like I just said, to go talk to someone else, right? So when you go and you talk to people, it's always great that what you do is you can just, go to therapy. That can be different for everyone, right? That's what it is. Therapy is different for everyone. Most of us has bigger problems than our favorite sports teams. And it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. If you are thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited for your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now you can also find it on Amazon Fire TV. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find the Locked On Sports Today channel now on Amazon Fire TV. Now, Mitch, the thing is, so this was a big win. They go up against Miami. Miami's been struggling. Mm-hmm. The crazy part about it is, Kyle Lowry is expected to be signed today, right? And if he plays tomorrow, his first game is going to be against the Miami Heat, right? Mm-hmm. You can't like make this up. Like, this is something like a Hollywood type setting. But the deal is Miami isn't really playing well.
No, they're not.
So the Sixers, let's face it, they are. They gotta maintain this focus. They can't get overconfident over what happened last time. But last game after defeating Cleveland last night. But I think that they can use this upcoming thing as a momentum builder going into the All-Star break. Because hopefully, you never know, but hopefully they'll get some bodies back tomorrow. I doubt it, but hopefully they do, right? But knowing after the break, you're going to have more people back. Guys are going to get this rest. They're going to do this. So maybe they can try who knows, try to turn around. But I think it's vital for them to beat the Miami Heat tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you can, if you get that win, you go into the All-Star break on a nice 3-game winning streak, and you hope, I'm pretty certain the guy like Tobias will be back after the break, and you hope you get Christmas in February and get some other bodies back on your roster. It really is. It's a big game for this team, if because of their circumstances, because teams like Cleveland and New York have emerged as better, have gotten better via the trade market, and also, when they coming out of the All-Star break, that schedule, it's not going to be easy. I mean, they get New York, Cleveland, the Bucks, the Celtics, and some other, the Mavs, and some other teams, right out to shoot for the second half of for the sprint, second half of the season. So yeah, this is a crucial game for them, and I think it's a game. Again, you don't know who's coming back. It's the All-Star break. You don't know who you're going to have on that roster. But yeah, it would be nice for them to get a win against a Miami team that has struggled despite giving Spoelstra that huge contract. Yeah, and ride some momentum here, and it's a good chance to do it because I know you and I were having conversations that this looks like a lottery team for the rest of the season, depending on what happens, and they got a chance to prove us wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's one game, but it's one of those games where a team overlooked them. I'm pretty sure Miami is going to try to, turn things around too.
Yeah.
But this is, it's just big. Like, you can't. One thing about the Sixers, I don't think they're a good ball club right now, but I think you can't sleep on them, if that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. Because they play hard. It's kind of like, and I don't want to call them the process Sixers, but when the Sixers were doing the process, the one thing that you could count on under Brett Brown is that they were going to play hard. They didn't always have the talent, but if you slept on them, they would come and they would beat you. They would upset you.
Right.
This team right now has more talent. They just depleted. I don't know how good they are, right? I mean, because they got a lot of question marks. But I do know that a team, if you get overconfident, they're going to beat you. Like they're gonna because what happens is it's hard to turn that thing on and off. Like,
right.
You start off slow, you build a lead. I mean, you dig yourself in the lead. The other team has the momentum. The longer it stays close, the longer it stays close, you start making mistakes because you're rushing, you're panicking, while they start getting energy. You know what I'm saying? They building confidence. So, but yeah, it's one of those things where I think that this particular game is going to be huge for them, and I'm looking forward to covering it to see what's going on, and then seeing what happens over the break. Like you said, there's a lot of unknowns, but we'll see. We'll definitely see a lot. We'll see a lot. But look, y'all, we want to thank y'all for listening. This podcast, let you know we'll be back tomorrow to break down some more stuff. But this podcast is free and available. You can get it wherever you get your podcast at. Like I said, free and available. You can also check us out on our YouTube channel, Locked On 76ers YouTube. When you go there, click on that Liberty Bell. You become a new subscriber, and you also get notifications when a new podcast drops. So look, enjoy your day, and have a blessed day and a blessed week. And we get back with y'all later. Peace.
Have a good one, y'all.